Hi, everybody. It's my pleasure to join you today to share with you Muscular Dystrophy Canada's Brand Reboot Strategy. This is a project that was identified as a critical component of our 3-year strategic plan, which was launched some year and a half ago, and also important in keeping pace with other organizations and ensuring that we are differentiated from those charities which we are sometimes confused with. One of the questions I'm asked is why a reboot and what is a reboot? Well, in fact, a reboot is just digging back into previous research conducted around our brand and creating a go-forward strategy that is not overly comprehensive and not overly expensive. In fact, this project was led internally by staff at no cost to the organization. And also we were able to secure pro bono services from a marketing firm that helped us along the way. Really what we're trying to do here is recognize that the organization has gone through significant change in the past number of years, and that we want Muscular Dystrophy Canada to reflect that change, to be differentiated from other charities, and to really magnify what makes us unique and special and connected to the grassroots. So just a quick review of the process that we undertook to kind of contextualize the work that was done. One of the things we did look at certainly was looking at our past branding documents and processes that were undertaken first in 2003 and then again in 2013 by external consultants. We then defined our audiences and segmented them psychographically, and that just means by similar needs and wants that the organization has to deliver against, and I will speak to that in a couple of slides. We looked at other organizations in the allied health charity space, so organizations like Heart and Stroke, Diabetes Canada, Canadian Cancer Society, etc., to look at what they were doing, how they were refreshing their brands and moving forward. We looked at what we consider to be our competitor space, and I use that term as a friendly competitors. So those would be other neuromuscular disorder charities throughout Canada. And we looked at how they were kind of positioning themselves and speaking about themselves to ensure that we were, again, capturing what is unique about Muscular Dystrophy Canada. We conducted many stakeholder interviews to solicit feedback. We reviewed past written testimonials that came to us in many forms, including past surveys and hub assessments and the work we did consulting around the current strategic plan, as well as I mentioned those reports from 2003 and 2013. And we used all of this information to start to really hear from our stakeholders about what it is that they think and feel about Muscular Dystrophy Canada. From that, we collected the information and we tested it internally with our staff to make sure it seemed to resonate with them. In the late summer, we launched an internal tagline competition, and we selected what we believe to be the top 3 taglines for external testing, which we also did in the late summer. And we actually had great engagement online. We had over 250 people vote for the top tagline, and there was a clear winner by a significant margin, which I will share with you in a bit. We built out our visual identity and our new mood board, and a mood board is just use of color and logo and tagline and language. And then we defined our personality and voice, all of which I'm going to share with you as part of this presentation. So next, it's really important for us to just get a common understanding of what a brand is, or why we talk about a brand. And it's really about how the customer or stakeholders or clients in this particular instance think about the organization and interact with either the products and services, so such as our personal empowerment program, system navigation, equipment program. It's really about how people think about Muscular Dystrophy Canada, not how internally we think about ourselves. So next was really defining our audiences and their multi-stakeholder audiences. So Obviously, at the bottom, you have Muscular Dystrophy Canada, the organization, which is the underpinning that brings all of the different stakeholders together. We have people with a neuromuscular disorder who require specific pieces of information or interacting with us for a particular purpose. We have family members, caregivers, firefighters, who are all important stakeholder groups, healthcare professionals, and researchers. And we define these as our internal stakeholders, and they also actually make up the majority of our donors and our volunteers. And we know that people can move from one group to the next. You're not just a family member. You may be a family member and a firefighter. You may be a family member and a healthcare provider, so that you can cross over each of these stakeholder groups. And then kind of what we call the above the line, or the external stakeholders, would be those that, if we are properly representing our internal stakeholders, will find credibility in the work that we do. So things like our external partners, government and policymakers, industry professionals, and the media. So the next thing we did, as I already mentioned, is we started to pull out and look at the research and look at the testimonials and how people were speaking about us or about their experiences. And we started to pull out those words that were common amongst all of the different stakeholder groups. So this is a sample of those that are living with a neuromuscular disorder, and I would confirm a very small sample of what we review, just to give you a bit of a taste. And you can see the words highlighted in red are those words that we're seeing as repetitive. So for example, from a 16-year-old client, "My neuromuscular disorder does not define me. I have goals and dreams to fulfill. I need help though, not just a referral, but a helping hand along my journey." You can see from Jason's quote, another client, that we see words like "connecting with others who have similar experiences or face similar challenges have been very helpful and inspiring for me. I hope others who are facing a new diagnosis or are struggling will reach out to these communities for support and friendship." So down the right-hand side of the slide, we started collecting what we consider these keywords: connecting, helpful, inspiring, communities, support, friendship, pushing, solution, believe. Then we moved on to our next stakeholder group, which is our family member group or caregiver group. And again, you can see some words repeating, and you can see some new words. So words like inspired, persevere, rewarding, support, motivation, breathe, hope or hopeful, forward, help. And then we move on to another stakeholder group, which is allied healthcare professionals and researchers. And if we look to what Dr. Korngut says, who is a leading neurologist, researcher, clinician, and a member of the board of directors of Muscular Dystrophy Canada, he says, "I am continually inspired by all the staff and volunteers at Muscular Dystrophy Canada who are so extremely passionate and focused on contributing to and improving the lives of individuals and families affected by neuromuscular disease. To me, each moment with Muscular Dystrophy Canada is so energizing and rewarding that I'm continuously motivated to contribute as much as I can." What a wonderful thing for Dr. Korngut to say. So again, you see we've collected all of the words that we saw in all of the testimonials and stakeholder interviews that we did, and we've collected them down the right-hand side of the slide. Firefighters, again, a very small sampling of the work that we did, and we hear words like joy, dedication, cure, fight, challenge. And our volunteers: hope, help, cure, united, community, support, impact, excited, future. So I think maybe you're starting to see some repetition, and we certainly saw lots of repetition in these words that we started to collate into groups, which I'm going to speak about in a moment. And finally, our donors. Why do they give to us? Because they are truly, with our volunteers, those that fuel our mission. And their words were hopeful, cure, involved, community, and help. So the next thing I want to do is really contextualize what we did next, which is to start to build out a brand promise. And a brand promise is really kind of the underpinning of how you build a brand for an organization. It is really that guiding internal statement that we will keep coming back to and ensuring that we are on target. So a brand promise, as defined by the Marketing Dictionary, which is the source that all marketers really refer to when doing their work, is a brand promise is made by an organization stating what a customer or client can expect from their product or services, in this case, from the organization as a whole. It is the most important aspect of a brand. It represents the uniqueness of the brand, and that is what customers remember. It builds expectations in the minds of the customers, and I would also counter in the minds of those that are delivering the programs and services, so our staff and volunteers. Through the deliverables, it promises and increases the desire for that product or service, or increases the emotional connection with the organization as a whole. So just to, again, provide some further context and clarity, the next thing we did was really provide some sample brand promises so that everyone could have a common understanding. And we picked 3 pretty remarkably well-known and strong brands. The first one is Nike, and when we think of Nike, we typically think of Just Do It, which is their slogan, not their brand promise. Their brand promise, in fact, is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And they actually define athlete is as if you have a body, then you're an athlete. And it can look like and feel like and actualize in many different forms. Starbucks, another very well-known company, their brand promise is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. And Coca-Cola, to refresh the world, to inspire moments of optimism and uplift, to create value and make a difference. So with that in mind, the next thing that we did is we took all of those words that we captured and saw repeated throughout all of our interviews and a review of all of our literature. We started taking all of those keywords and grouping them into like-minded categories and trying to define or pull together a word that would represent that category. So the first category on your left-hand side of the slide are the words inspired, rewarding, determination, commitment, passionate, motivated, joy, excited, energized. And those words really are an expression of being passionate or having passion. The group in the middle, involved, community, family, friendship, connecting, support, united, involved, speak to this sense of togetherness. It's what connects us and unites us as a group. And then finally, on the right-hand side are what we consider to be our stronger, more action-driven words: cure, solution, journey, pushing, forward, fight, future, focused, and believe. And we felt that those were really strong representation of the word hope. So from there, we then undertook to write our brand promise for Muscular Dystrophy Canada, which is, by bringing people together who share a common cause, we create a passionate and caring community rooted in the desire to support and help each other and bring hope for a cure and a future that is free from neuromuscular disorders. And so the next thing we did was, how do we express that in a logo? And this is Muscular Dystrophy Canada's new logo. It really builds off the puzzle pieces that were our last logo, and also reflects the unique spirit of each of those of us that are involved in Muscular Dystrophy Canada. It reflects a clear sense of individuality as opposed to a replication of individuals. For example, we know that each of our clients has a very, very unique journey through a neuromuscular disorder. And therefore, we wanted that uniqueness to be at the forefront of who we are as an organization, underpinning the fact that we will meet each and every one of those in our Muscular Dystrophy Canada when and where they need us on their journey. You can also see that while it looks like an individual, it also incorporates down the left-hand side Muscular Dystrophy Canada's initials, and up the right-hand side, the exact reflection in French, Dystrophie Musculaire Canada. And so it is a fully bilingual logo. It will always be presented in this form with both of the official languages represented. You can also see the bottom here, there's a unique treatment. If we look at this, we can see almost a head and arms flexed in a power symbol, which is actually the recognized symbol for empowerment. But if you look at it a different way, it also can be a reflection of the boots of a firefighter. So again, reflecting that long and important tradition that we have with the firefighters across this country. Our new tagline is ignited by passion and fueled by hope, and here it is in both the official languages. The tagline is really brave and bold, it's future focused, and really again connects into that firefighter history. And actually the 4 power words in this tagline in English are actually defined by the dictionary as: ignite means to catch fire, passion is an intense or driving feeling, fueled means a source of sustenance or an incentive, and hope is to want something to be true or to happen, to cherish or desire with anticipation. And then you can see the different treatments of how our logo and our tagline will be used, and our new color palette. So we're moving to an orangey or red, a teal and gray. And actually the psychology of color is a very well studied and much understood field in the marketing world, with the understanding that colors actually create an emotional response in the brain. And so we chose these colors particularly because of what they represent. So the color red represents and evokes a sense of power, passion, energy, strength, and love. Teal represents and evokes communication, calmness, inspiration, self-expression, and healing. And gray evokes timelessness, reliability, balance, intelligence, and steadfastness. Again, I think all of those words pull back into what we heard from our different stakeholder groups as to who they see us and how they wish us to be represented. So here's a sample treatment of how we will now begin to pull all of the different sub-brands or campaigns in under what we consider the mother brand for Muscular Dystrophy Canada. This is our Wheelchair Dare, which is a third-party fundraising event used particularly by corporate Canada. It has been in existence for about 10 years, but has kind of been given some new life. So you can see the use of the teal and the red and the gray, a very motion-filled wheelchair on the end here, plus the exclamation mark, which kind of evokes, again, that sense of excitement and movement. The tagline is, "Come on, we dare you." And the dare is really dare to spend the day in a wheelchair to begin to experience some of the challenges around accessibility, and to create a space in a workplace for a dialogue about how to create an accessible place and how to create an accessible culture within not only your workplace, but obviously consider how we can create a more accessible culture in our entire country. So we do have many companies, new companies that have joined on this year to undertake the Wheelchair Dare, and we have set a target for this year of raising $50,000 in Wheelchair Dare, and we are about 50% to our target. So some pretty good pickup on the Wheelchair Dare. And this is a new sample language or sample voice. You will start to hear the tone of which we speak and we write change significantly. I will read through this for you. Each and every day, we are inspired by the people we meet and the stories we hear. Stories of commitment, courage, determination, and caring. And in fact, those 4 words, commitment, courage, determination, and caring, are actually our corporate values that Muscular Dystrophy Canada set many, many years ago. So we've embedded them right into the sample language. Stories that encourage us and ignite our passion to work harder, ensuring we can deliver on our promise to support all Canadians impacted and affected by a neuromuscular disorder. Stories of clients who push past the obstacles of pain to thrive and inspire others, volunteers who won't stop until their hope of a cure is a reality, firefighters who dedicate themselves to fighting alongside clients and donors whose passion for change ignites us all. By bringing people together who share a common cause, we create a passionate and caring community rooted in the desire to support and help each other and bring hope for a cure and a future that is free from neuromuscular disorders. At Muscular Dystrophy Canada, we are more than an organization serving clients. We are a family, and we are strongest when we work together. So finally, I'd like to share with you a little video that we've put together, a little teaser video to help us launch our new brand. So finally, I'll just briefly speak to some next steps and then invite you to forward to me any of your questions or concerns. I am also happy to make arrangements to speak to any groups or organizations who would wish to have this presentation in person. Always happy to reach out and share additional information and discussion on this really exciting project for Muscular Dystrophy Canada. So next steps really include the slow move over to incorporating our brand throughout our materials and throughout Muscular Dystrophy Canada as a whole. In doing so, and in knowing that this project was coming, we have been able to kind of draw down on our existing inventories to make sure that there's not a lot of inventory left on hand. And so as we reach the end of our materials, we will replace the materials with the new branded Muscular Dystrophy Canada. We will also be rebranding some of our campaigns going forward, and we'll work with each of the stakeholder groups to ensure that you have the necessary materials and that we work with you to make sure that any existing materials are either disposed of or used before we take those next steps forward. So I thank you, all of you who participated in providing us feedback, in moving us through this year-plus long undertaking. I am thrilled on the outcome of the work that all of us at Muscular Dystrophy Canada have done together, and I'm happy to share that the Board of Directors unanimously supported the rollout of this brand going forward, and I look forward to working with each of you to push it even further and help us advance our collective mission. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.